Right,
but shorter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jody's. I keep making people wait on me. All right. So 5, 4, 3. I did that to him on the other channel, Free Will Awakening. Anyways, hey, what's up, guys? This is Andrew Smirchik with Combat Art Training, and I'm here today with Brian Norris, otherwise known as Rev to the Limit, otherwise known as Ammo Mountain. I saw his videos with Jaeger a couple of years ago, and I got to be on his channel. Link to that is in the description. Please watch that; it's very good. And I don't normally like talking about myself, but I do it there.
If you can get James Jaeger to comment on this video, if you like, there's no way he's seeing this, but if you can get Jaeger to comment on this video, I don't know. There's a special prize for you. Like, we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, we could. Although if it's just Kayla commenting on
doesn't
his
count.
channel,
Kayla,
doesn't count.
You count, but
it has to be actually
has to be,
that would be something that would like make my world if that ever happened. But anyways, I got to be on his channel, and super cool because like I was like, because there's all these people within our culture, within the family that is like we know about, and now meeting them, it's a pretty awesome experience for me. I just want to talk about what he does about his channel.
Who is the biggest letdown?
Letdown. I don't know.
You went. It's awesome. I got to meet all these people, but there's always the potential. Like when you think, man, this guy's awesome, and then you meet him in person, and you're like, oh, kind of a dud.
I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it does happen.
I wouldn't name names though.
No, okay. But so far, everybody's been what you expected, except for no duds.
There wasn't anything bad, I guess. It was just like. I don't know.
Here
I can't say stuff like that. I wouldn't drop a name, but because I know I've definitely been like people are like, hey, it's good to meet you. Like, hey, what's up? But yeah, so like let's just get into it. I want to interview you and talk about gun stuff this time. And
let me say, since I was joking around just then, all the people around here that you've met, awesome. Like I can they're cool. Like if anybody happened to be a little bit of a dud, that's just a fluke thing. Like our group of dudes that you met, they're legitimately cool. So just give them time if somebody happened to be that way.
No, I've had nothing but a positive experience here to the point where like you're like, hey, you can move here. I'm like stop it. I still have to do
we're not gonna
here,
stop. But... like it's okay for you to say no, but we're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep like
no, everyone's been awesome. Like seriously. But okay, so when did you start shooting?
I mean, so shooting is different than training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I am a lifetime shooter. I didn't really start training until
no shooting. When did you start shooting?
Okay, lifetime shooter. So, I got my first gun was a single shot H&R 16 gauge shotgun.
Oh,
and I mean, as far as my gun, like that's not the first gun I shot. That's the first gun that was mine, right? And in the mountains of West Virginia, my grandpa had a farm that had some bottomland, some farmable land, but the farm was mostly mountains and woods. And so after I had learned the 4 rules and I was safe, I was free to squirrel hunt throughout those woods. So from the time I was probably, I don't know, somebody will correct me, but 7 or 8, like I would be early on, my butt would be planted early, way before light, like beside a tree, really cold, and don't move, and I needed to match a shell with a squirrel. Like that was the goal. Of course, sometimes you miss and stuff, but that was like, you'd have a bread bag from grandma's kitchen in your vest, and it was supposed to be full of squirrels, or at least as many squirrels in that bread bag as you lost shells. So that was my first like shooting, kind of like significant shooting experiences were pretty much squirrel hunting as a kid.
I haven't gotten to do enough hunting. I've done some. I've gotten a big deer, but especially if you actually get it.
Yeah, I'm not much of a hunter. I mean,
Yeah.
I will. I have intentions on getting back into that heritage more, but I'm not much of a hunter. But for people that are in the training community, there is a lot that you can get from that.
Hmm.
That if you have our mindset applies a lot when it comes to you're the patrolling guy, so I'm not gonna.
Hmm.
But like I think I may find out that I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot about moving through the woods that you learn to be quiet for hunting. That is, and a lot about sitting still and waiting. That's applicable.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot about observation that's applicable. I think there's a lot about orienting, using a compass, and there's a lot about um, wind direction and smell that's applicable. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn and keep your skills sharper. I think by taking some time in the woods, that's kind of hard to practice enough if you don't have a purpose.
Hmm.
If you're just walking through the woods for the sake of walking through the woods, I question how many people are really doing that. Some people are, but they're kind of like unusual to
Yeah.
be doing that, you know. But if you take something, so I'm kind of thinking about hunting more in terms of let me get back into that to keep some of these newer things in practice.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And yeah. So
Plus, we're gonna need more food if things keep going the way they're going.
yeah, need to be good at that. Even Jaeger, last time he was at Gorilla Ammo and he went hog hunting, he said,
Those are
"I
some of
don't
the
care
best
what you
videos ever.
say." Yeah, he's like,
I love those videos.
he's like, "I don't care what you say. That's training." Right there. So like that means something. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and it does actually have a lot of application to like if the world went completely to shit and we had to fend for ourselves and there was like we have to defend our community. No, absolutely, hunters would be a true asset and as long as you got that mindset attached to it.
The right hunters.
Hmm.
Yeah, the right hunters would be a true asset.
Yeah.
There are some that, anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, trying to be quiet, observation, trying to move to the correct position, and when you're hunting, you are in many ways setting up ambushes. Right, you're patrolling and setting up ambushes.
100%.
And I think after I do more hunting, I'd like to do a video about that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. If you do that, holler at me because that rifle video that I was talking to you about, we could like marry those together. There's also, I didn't talk about this, but there's also an emotional dump that happens that you're talking about, like how like there's the surge of you've got an animal in your sight. I don't think like this. You might disagree with me, but I don't think you should ever like enjoy taking life.
Yeah.
Or I try to discipline my mind not to.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's for me. I don't find it beneficial.
Yeah.
So I want to have I'm not trying to like cry over an animal or something, but I think there should be a sense of mourning in myself when I take life that
valuing
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but early on, when you're not used to taking a shot, it is very different for most people to shoot an animal than to shoot a target.
Mm-hmm.
Like they I mean, and it might not be like a fear thing, it might be an excitement thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they are less disciplined in taking the shot than they think they will be. I mean, they could hit 10 out of 10, but they miss in the moment.
I remember seeing that deer in the crosshairs, and like, because I had tried to stay perfectly still for like 3 hours straight, and I didn't move a muscle.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
And it was so
it's hard
cool.
to do. It's way harder than people realize.
Oh yeah, I figured out a way to position my clothes. My hands were inside, and my rifle was staged. And I heard the steps, and I was like, no way, because it was like I only had like 20 minutes left before I was done.
Yeah,
and I had to pack it up, and I got it, and yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah,
and yeah. So grew up hunting, grew up shooting. You started doing blogs, correct? Or where did it go from there?
You're asking about the writing that I did?
Yeah. What was the next step within shooting and that was on your journey?
I don't know what the next step was. I think what you're getting to, and we'll skip some steps probably to get here, but I think what you're getting to is, so I had a writing project, a kind of a book project that I haven't published. Actually, I still have several in the Christian world that things that I am writing,
Okay.
and I don't talk about that very much. But I realized that I had some things that I wanted to communicate to a broader group of people, but I wasn't the kind of writer that I wanted to be. And so when I heard people and talked to people about this insufficiency, they're like, well, get a writing coach, or you can pay this, or you can do this, or you can go take this class. And I was I was starting a church. That's church planting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
My that If you haven't ever done that or you're not familiar with it, um, it's like starting a business, but with that takes as much money, but you probably don't have as much money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, so our family budget, because we were very invested in it, was really strapped, and I felt like there was a lot of good was being accomplished through what we were doing, but I didn't have anything that was excess that didn't need to be channeled either into my family's well-being or to that project.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm not spending money on writing classes, bro. Like, or a writing coach, or that's so it sounded so like privileged from my perspective at that time. Like, must be nice, man. But
yeah,
you know, and but I'm not I'm a solution oriented person. So I was like, what do I have in my hand that I can do something with? What do I already possess that I can like act on, so that this project doesn't just like, you know, become less impactful or less excellent than I want it to be.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I have hobbies. I could maybe write about those. And so I thought, well, what hobby? And I was interested. GunTube was kind of a big thing, and so I'd watch some YouTubers and things, and I thought, that's interesting. And so I thought, um, I'll write some spec articles about gun stuff. And so I wrote one, and I sent one to a girl, a lady. She's a brand new mom. Shout out to Destiny. She used to have a YouTube channel called Fate of Destiny. Um, she's not making videos anymore, but Fate of Destiny was all about, um, she was a young, I think when she started, she was a teenage woman,
mm-hmm.
and her dad was a shooter. And I think I shared with you, the gun industry at the time was really focused on the fastest growing segment, which was like female shooters. Mm-hmm. So she actually got hired to write for an existing gun website, which was called SOFREP, that's owned by a bunch of military guys. It was owned by a Navy SEAL at the time. She got hired to develop their next website project, be the editor for it that he'd already built, which was kind of geared outside of the military community, taking their audience and saying, here's a website for the average everyday person. So they had a bunch of military writers, and then one female non-military writer, right? That was the editor. And they were looking for one or two more regular, just shooters, people from the gun culture, gun community, that could write to the person that's maybe at a different place than the military world kind of perspective. So I had just kind of looked for some of the fastest growing and some of the most viewed gun websites and sent articles to them just based on their editors. So I didn't know that Fate of Destiny was the editor at that place. I just knew that SoftRep had a new project.
Okay.
Right? So she was one of the people that got back to me and said, we would love to publish your piece. And she also was somebody that, hey, can we make some people are really kind of concerned about, there's a lot of ego tied to their work. So they don't want criticism, right? Like, I wrote it, don't change it, don't touch it, that kind of thing. I was looking for criticism because I couldn't afford a writing coach. So my whole reason was, I want an editor to tell me what I'm doing that's stupid. So they're now paying me to do what I couldn't afford to pay for. That was the whole reason why I was doing it. So
That's smart.
so she was really like critical, and I was like, yes, like because she's like a grammar Nazi, and she's like, and so like that's what I'm looking for. So thank you, Destiny, for being like so obsessive about like all that stuff. I really, really appreciate it. She's not watching this, but I really appreciate it. So she said, we want to publish your stuff. I started writing for them. Now I had a body of work, and actually there were a couple others that were like interested. And long story short, um, I after Destiny was gone, I worked through a couple other editors, and there was a guy who reached out to me on my. I started putting my embedding videos in some of my pieces because there was a good following on those places, and I started a YouTube channel. Originally, that was I thought, hey, let's kind of put this content in two places, and it'll serve both,
Mm-hmm.
both ways. Um, and somebody reached out to me in the comments on a YouTube, and I was like, and um, they were accusing me of plagiarizing somebody else's work.
It was your work.
It was my work. You already know this.
No, that's where I see it going.
So I didn't have a big following. Some military guy that was writing for one of the other software websites, like took my piece and published it under his name under their paywall.
Oh.
And they had the right to publish my stuff, but they didn't have the right to put their name on it.
Yeah.
So
a military guy did that.
Oh yeah. Huh. Because I was just some,
yeah,
silly, and he was a real douchebag.
Yeah, he was.
But he took like 3 levels in, wouldn't admit to like doing it. Like he's like, I just, I was just putting out content. Like I forgot to put the little like name change on the bottom, which we're using WordPress. I could get into the back end. It's really easy. You have to like intentionally, like it. That's not the way it works.
It was a lie.
It was a lie, right?
Yeah.
But the crazy part, I would have even been cool with that if he just changed it, even though it had been up several days. What he did was say, "It's not that big of a deal, man. Why are you?" And he left his name on it because he didn't want to correct. He didn't want somebody to think he'd done that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I up channeled it to the owner. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to like, it's not that big of a deal, except for the fact somebody is thinking that I stole this, and my name is all I've got.
Yeah.
Like good names rather to be chosen than great riches. I need, like, I'm not perfect. I'll own anything that I've done wrong. But so many things I'm lying or I'm stealing, that's a problem in like my real life. Like this is a side hustle. I can't do this. And so, I mean, he immediately, to his credit, the owner was like, man, get your butt in line. What are you making a thing out of? And like, he's like, I'm just glad Brian didn't do anything legally. Like you could totally ruin me. Why are you twisted around the axle like this? But it also made me realize that I wasn't being valued in the way that I had been. So I sent my spec stuff out to other places, and Ammo Land was like, we'd love to publish your stuff. You have a body of work, you've got a following. And I was like, hey man, they've got articles from Chuck Norris. I can be with Uncle Chuck, so it was, and they had the Arms Guide had a good following, but Ammo Land had at this point had a significantly higher following.
Wow.
And so I was like, I was a smaller fish in a bigger pond. So in some ways it didn't have as much natural traction, but it was a good fit. So I've been really happy to write for them for the past several years. I'm not publishing a lot right now, but I still have that kind of like regular contributor status. So anyway, I publish in some other places, but those are the spots. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
No,
and that connected me to series on training and interviewing trainers, which connected me to Jaeger, which started this whole like you used the word awakening in our interview. started kind of a re-evaluating everything, which kind of ruins writing reviews about gear because you're like, it's not about gear. So
I'd be a way
it-
better gear maker
like,
if I had no training because I would focus on gear more.
man, I could sell the heck out of all kinds of cool doodads and gadgets that I've got no use for
Yeah.
anymore. You know, so but I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sorry.
So was so that's when you started a series interviewing instructors. Who were the instructors you were interviewing?
Man, I've done a bunch over the years. I actually haven't really stopped. You're my most recent one.
Oh, thank you.
So like I kind of like it's not in that original series, but I kind of like the most interesting thing to me about this world is the people in it.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the fun for me.
Absolutely.
So James Yeager was the first like well-known name.
Okay.
But I did some other guys that were more regional before that. That I don't know that anybody, but like I'll mention one of them. And the only reason why I had hesitation with this one is there's another more well-known trainer that has the same name. I'm not talking about Super Dave. So Dave Harrington was a one that I interviewed that was a law enforcement trainer in our area at the time.
Okay.
He's now become more like he does a lot of like work with U.S. Law Shield. What's that called?
U.S. Law Shield.
Shield, yeah. So he does. So that's more like his scene now. But he was a police officer in our area and training them, but also training private citizens at the time, and doing some good work. Some other people that I had trained with regionally in Tennessee, and since that time, a number of other guys. You know, trying to think of Rob Pincus is one that a lot of people would know. But yeah, just a bunch of different ones, and it kind of dovetailed away from only instructors, but also a lot of other people making gun culture kind of contributions. So I mentioned Faxon to you before. So like Bob Faxon, but also I did a thing with Bob Faxon's son that I thought, because like he was raising, in my mind, a next generation of patriots who are entrepreneurs. And not like, if you meet some of these guys' kids and you see what they're doing, like I know a lot more about him after talking to his son. Wow. You know, so like, because okay, this isn't just a good businessman that's making a good product. This is a good man who's raising good kids.
That's awesome.
And that's gun culture.
Yeah.
You know, like, so that's cool. So like, there's a bunch of those people that I've been really privileged to meet. The guy that makes, Jaeger introduced me. My mind just went blank. But the guy that makes the buckles, the Alti clips.
Oh yeah.
That dude is doing mission work. Like
the money for those don't even go to him. It goes.
He's just awesome. I mean, I'm sure he makes something, but like he's primarily funding like life-changing work in I think South America, if I'm not like just incredible. Like there's just our culture is so full, and I just started the people that were interested. I just like ADD, like gravitated toward them and write something, and it was so fun. I did all the products and stuff, but that's the stuff that I'm really proud of.
The people, yeah. And your interviews are phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, man.
And actually, I'm like, I wish I was half the interviewer that you were.
Oh no, you're killing it.
Time, well, you're making it easy because you talk so well. I'm like, this is my best interview. You know why? Because he has it. So did you take like any classes before tactical response? Or
yeah.
What did you do?
I took a fundamentals of marksmanship class from a guy who was he owned a range in East Tennessee, in near Greenville, Tennessee, called White Sands Guns and Ammo. And this guy he taught me reloading, and he taught me the fundamentals of marksmanship in a broken down, like breaking it every little component down kind of way, like breath control, trigger prep, was all the follow, like all the fundamentals in a very like, and it turned in from that class into like one-on-one coaching, but it was very like target focused, very like shooter focused, but it was really useful.
Yeah.
I
definitely.
took several, concealed carry classes in different places that I lived, and some of them were more training, and some of them were more just the requirements of the place. I took some stuff from a place called TAC 2 in Greenville, Tennessee, that from a guy named Doc, who was a chiropractor in that area, who was also like in his own right a great IPSC competitor. So he's a straight up 1911 guy. He's the very stereotypical like my way is the way kind of kind of guy, but he brought in, to his credit, lots of different nationally known instructors. So I took some things at his place, but most of it again was more like IDPA kind of game focused. There were some real self-defense focused things too.
And you were shooting IDPA too, right?
I was. I mean, I was mostly shooting IDPA as a connection point in the community to like connect men to the church and train men when it was a connecting point. Like some people would play golf or whatever, but so I didn't have mindset yet.
IDPA is way cooler than golf, though.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But it was. I mean, I don't mean that I have mindset fully developed now, but I mean that like I didn't have that kind of aha moment until I met James. When it comes to like, I knew it wasn't like night and day. I had some of it, but I didn't have some of the really important components of why I wasn't learning to fight on purpose with a gun.
Yeah, it was. It's different.
It's different,
and that's like one of those things where it's like they say no, you have to take fighting pistol before you can do this or this or this, and there's a purpose to that. It's not just doing the stuff. It's or hitting the target. Like hitting the target is the easy part compared to the rest of it. The mindset's so critical, and
some of the stuff that I learned was really useful. But honestly, some of it, because it was out of order, I had to unlearn so much, and some of it is just now getting back into usefulness. Like a lot of it, I needed to kind of completely put in the shelf it and put it away.
What were some of those things?
So, trying to speed up was in the way.
Like a shot timer, or
like that kind, like being focused on doing things quickly was a problem that I had to put away. If the movement is right, like then I can work on speeding up. But I had a lot of work to do before that was, and I still don't get a timer out.
Yeah,
hardly ever. Like I sometimes I'll get it out to know a gun versus another gun, like which one is easier to be defensive with if I'm trying to do a review or something. Like I need something that's like measurable.
Yeah, because we love metrics,
right? So
yeah,
but rarely do I get a shot timer out still.
And I was talking with Pat about this too, but yeah, shot timers, like there's a utility and it's like that big, and an issue I see is when the focus is so much on the shot timer. How many people own a shot timer, 2 shot timers, 3 shot timers, and don't own a tourniquet?
Come on. You preach right there, man. You're preaching to the choir, but go out and preach.
Dude, I do that with everything. You can compare anything with that. Like how many people have spent $200 on Cerakote and $0 on a training class. Man, you could do that with anything.
Get you some Nylon.
Exactly. Drag it across the concrete. Yeah,
there you go.
Right on. So, okay, so you interviewed James, and that one was that one over like a Zoom call sort of thing?
So the first one was I was literally on the platform of my church plant because it had cool wood behind it, right, and I had good lights. Yeah. So like I was like, man, I'm gonna interview James Yeager. So like I took my normal setup and I moved it onto our church platform, and nobody, like, out of my office and into like this. Nobody else was in the like the big open. We were set up as a non-traditional space, so it's more like a concert venue.
Yeah.
That we'd remodel. So like it was a really cool vibe, and so I just like you couldn't tell what was out there, so I just went up on the platform and sat there talking to him. Now I've got like a good background because and we're talking, and he was so cool and gracious. And then he was like, "You need training." I'm like, "I know I do." I'm like, he's like, and he was like, "You should come train with me." I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I'll do that sometime." He's like, "I mean, sometime, I don't remember exactly how it was.
Get your ass here now.
I don't know if I can afford it, man. Like at some point when it works with the family, I did some lame blaming the family budget kind of thing, and he's like, "I didn't say you need to pay for it. I said you need to come train."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" He's like, so now I've got like no leverage, and I'm really grateful. And he didn't know. I'm sure he does that. I have since found out he does that all the time.
Uh-huh.
But
how many people do you think there are that he's done that for that have not?
They're idiots.
I've done it. I've done it for tons of people.
But I would go every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time, if I think enough of a trainer that they will, for me to be wanting to interview them, if they offer me a class, I'm gonna take the class. I'm gonna find a way to get there and take the class. Like unless I have to like be absent from something that's really important in my family, like to do that. Like if
that's a reason, not an excuse.
Right? Yeah. Like I would be there every time.
So like, what was your experience like in the class? Like,
so I took fighting pistol. The primaries for that were Don Numbers and my mind just went blank. No, saying that he was a YouTube guy that did all the. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He did all the cool like gun like videos. Like they were hilarious. Jordan. Yeah. So
he is a beast too. And I can't wait to meet him.
And Tim. So those three guys were my instructors, and they all had a incredible impact on my experience. Tim, in particular, probably more than the other two, because he took that one-on-one time and was the little like voice in my ear at some crucial moments to kind of like, and he also yelled at me at some crucial moments that helped me. Like I still hear Tim's voice when I need to move. Like it's good. But Don Numbers was yelled at me in a waking up kind of way too. And it's all about the curriculum. I'm not making about who taught the curriculum.
Yeah.
But then I thought it was so cool that because I didn't know how it worked yet. I thought I was going to go take a class from James. He was going to be the primary instructor, right? I didn't know that he had a cadre of instructors, and so at first I was like, what's going on? But I'm here, I'm along for the ride, and it was great. And he was so like, I feel like every class that I've taken that he's been the instructor because he was so present in the gaps. He was so there and answering questions, and especially when we were around, the tactical response main place, the classroom area. He was so present to talk to us, and I had some other experiences with him just on a personal level that were. I mean, he's just become a really important influence in my life and a real good friend. I'm really grateful for him. But the curriculum is outstanding. And he does, as somebody who believes in decentralized ministry and has a team, he's the kind of leader that makes more accomplished because of what he's invested in his team and the way he trusts them to accomplish and play to their strengths and the way that he uses his team to overcome other people's weaknesses, and it's really cool to see. Like I've learned as much about leadership as I have about training from Jaeger, and about, as much about discipleship and teaching and mentoring as I have anybody. Like he's building something that has waves that impact. I mean, far beyond him. And that's really, really cool. If you're talking about culture transformation, that's really cool.
And it's very exciting to see where that's going too. Because like I wouldn't be here if it weren't for seeing his videos. And I you know, Pat even said like, you know, what Andy Stanford did for James, James did for him.
Yeah.
You know, so like would Prepared Patriot be here without tactical response?
I pray I pray that he's around for years and years to come.
Yes.
He's saying that that's not the case, and I'm not trying to put like that's hard for me, and it's hard for all of us that love him. But there's no doubt in my mind, regardless of if he lives for a year or if he lives for 40 years more, that his impact is going to continue in a accelerated way. There are people that we talk about, like everybody talks about, and I'm not going to throw out specific names because I don't want to make comparisons. But there are people in gun culture that people say, "Oh, he trained with, and he knew," and they insert this like this hero name.
Yeah,
I promise you.
Oh yeah,
I promise you, James Yeager is already that, but there are going to be more people convinced of that 2 years, 3 years, 40 years into the future because of the impact that's happening. There's no doubt. I'm not wrong. I could be wrong about a lot of things. No. I'm not wrong about this.
Yeah, that is a fact. And that's something too where it's like I consider him, and it's no shade to anyone else, but I consider him the top in the world. Absolutely. Like without question.
And I'm so fortunate to have met him, and he was so generous to do this because I could have met any instructor before him. And I would have I might have stopped and spent time learning there before I went on. Like I've done, like I kind of slowed my instructor bio process because I have so much to learn here. I'm not saying I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that could have been somebody else that would have been useful, but it wouldn't have been the same. And I'm so fortunate, like that it went in this order.
Yeah.
And that he was this gracious to me. It's really amazing. I feel like so lucky.
And it's one of the things that attracts me to your channel, you know, is that knowing the training that you've been through makes me want to pay attention to you, you know. Like I look at that wall right there, and I see fighting pistol, the fight, immediate action medical, all the Prepared Patriot search. I know you got more besides that, you know. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, when I hear people's opinions and then I know that they haven't done a force on force class, it's like you hear some wild shit if you spend a lot of time at the range, you know. But yeah, I'm super thankful that you got to do that.
I am. I'm really thankful, and it has given great perspective. The truth is, if you talk to most of the instructors in most of those classes, they would be like, "Yeah, Norris made it through this class, but he was the bottom of the class." Like, but listen, I was there and I went through it and I'm learning from it. I'm not I should retake all of those classes.
Yeah,
I should retake all of those classes.
I've had that experience too, where like I'm good at like pistol shooting and stuff. I did low light building clearing and attack response, and like man, I was rusty on that. Yeah. You know, that was a challenging one for me, and the force on force is insanely challenging.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Like we were at Prepared Patriot. We were in force on force, which is very different than the fight, but has some utility.
Yeah, if it's like if you like the fight, you'll like.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of. And we were just in that, but we were in the. I've had the fight, which is why I think they reached out to me to be a role player because they wanted people that had some force on force experience to be in the role player role, rather than they didn't have enough local people to be role players. So they reached outside of our community and they used inside our community the ones that had some force on force experience. And man, I wanted to be on the other side of that so bad.
Yeah.
Because like I know how much I needed it.
Yeah.
Like, and you learn a lot from being on the role playing side,
Uh-huh.
but it's not the same
Yeah.
as having to go blind into a scenario
Mhm.
and work through it.
Even if you
And
know, like, I would still take that class knowing what's gonna happen, just because it's
you
still
don't
there's
know
still
what
pressure.
you're gonna do until you're in the pressure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You
And
know,
and it would be hard.
you learn a lot of things you got to work on. You learn a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So okay, so that's how you got into training. You've been consistently training after that, and I'm sure, like they're like, but I didn't get to do this.
We
one
all
now,
need to
but-"
pay payments um on our training
Mhm.
to use Jaegers. Like you make the investment, get the training, keep like the practice is making the payments, I think is the way he says it.
Mhm.
Something like that. When I took the fight, it was an awakening, but I was also in the middle of like one of the busiest seasons of my life. That's not as much of an excuse as I was living in the city, getting to where I could do my practice was, I thought, distant, but I didn't understand. It didn't click with me the value of dry practice
Mhm.
at the same level. So a lot of the weapons manipulation stuff, it took forever because I thought I had to go to the range, which
Mm.
meant driving out of the city
Mm.
and setting up all this stuff. So there was a real slow evolution after the fight. I knew the importance and I had the value and the mindset was developing, but it was like snail's pace,
Mhm.
right? So sometime after this past year, not this past year, a couple years ago at Immediate Action Medical, sometime before that, some of this stuff started to click, but especially after the medical class with Jerry and Kayla, and I started to put together some like, because that was again kind of an awakening when it comes to not just carrying a tourniquet, but knowing how to use it and having kind of a more holistic view of being an asset.
Yes.
Like that was, especially because I'm kind of already geared towards the healer side of things.
Mhm.
Like that was like, oh, I can have even more utility here, you know? And so I don't know, man, like that has kind of poured poured gas on some existing fires in my life. And then having something like Prepared Patriot that was more accessible regionally,
Mhm.
um, has been awesome too. And from a practice and a training standpoint, like because there are people to practice with in the practice sense, and there are also more regional training opportunities that have value. And
Mhm.
that's not to the exclusion of my need to travel to places like tactical response. And I hope to come see you at some point. But
Well, I'll be up here, so
yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's the thing. You know, that training is yeah, that's it's been cool. But really, there's kind of awakening number one, and then I would say sometime right at the beginning of COVID, which I was like going to Immediate Action Medical. That was really kind of a cool, which was a great time in my life with everything going on here.
yeah.
That was a great time to like say, boom shakalaka.
Right
It was great.
on, man. So okay, and that pretty much leads us to the point that you're at now. Where as far as your channel, what is the direction you're trying to go? What's your focus right now?
It's really just interest based right now. It's been real review based in the past,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not closing down that, but from a level of projects in my primary career, I'm slow to take on more projects um, from manufacturers.
Mhm.
It used to be my bread and butter was they're sending out a product, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it enough to review it.
Mhm.
I've got several of those that I am still going to produce, and I'm not saying I won't do that if you're a manufacturer, but my field of interest is narrowing, and so whereas before it's like, oh, this is cool, I'll write about that. You know,
Hmm.
like you're reaching out to me, I'm likely to say yes, which is really good from a business standpoint, but I don't have as much time. So I'm
Oh
having to
yeah.
be more like, this is something that I think I need, and so someone else might need it.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of more narrow in focus, and probably will continue along those lines. Um, and I'm super curious, and I'm more curious about the people side of things than the product side of things. So I think I'm going to be. I don't know, but if I have opportunity, I'm more interested even then with talking to the owners or principals or other people that are making the products that I am probably the products themselves. I'm happy to talk about their products, but I'm certainly not as equipped as talking to we talked about your fanny pack.
Uh-huh.
That's way cooler to me than me talking about. I mean, I'll talk about it and I'll
Uh-huh.
use it and I'll tell you what I think of it and all that. I'll tell everybody what I think of it. But it's cool to hear your mind and why you developed it and
Yeah.
what your motivations were. Like you're more important, more valuable, and more interesting to me than a fanny pack. No
Yeah.
shade to the
Yeah.
fanny
No.
pack.
No.
Yeah. So,
I'm glad.
I don't know, but that's my guess as
Do
the
that,
direction.
man.
You know.
Yeah, do that. That I really like the way you interview, the questions you ask, and then even when you got something to say, it's like it's some good stuff, man. So like,
Sometimes.
yeah,
The, so let me just ask you, who would you like to see me interview,
I think. Well, I
or
like
who
you.
would you like to see interviewed, whether it's me or not?
So I would like you to do an interview of all of Pat, Matt, and Jerry individually.
I've done Pat.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
need
yeah,
to watch that one.
yeah.
And then as far as other people, have you done John Willis yet?
I don't know, John.
You should do John Willis. He's a really cool guy. He has been super gracious to me,
Okay.
or excuse me, super giving to me
Yeah,
as far
generous,
as doing
yeah.
that. Yeah, generous. That's
No,
right.
giving is the same thing. I'm just tracking
um,
with
but yeah, he's been really good. I think you enjoy that, especially his story. If you haven't heard it yet, is a, like
you.
as
Yeah.
far as making something of yourself, he did a fantastic
Now I've
job.
listened to all those kind of things where he has been, and I'm happy to. I just don't know. I kind of wonder what I have to add to, like, what questions I have to add to that conversation, which probably could be said of Jaeger or anybody else. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'll definitely take that in under advisement. Pete of Defiant Ammunitions, I'm real interested in
Do
talking
that.
to.
Do
Yeah,
that. Yeah, because I heard him on the phone the other day, but I haven't like seen much with him. So that would be
he's so
really cool.
busy. If you got time, Pete, and you happen to see this, I would love to talk to you if you're interested, and I'll reach out to you if you don't reach out to me. Um, what? Who else? Anybody? Who's like the dream? Like, oh man, you probably couldn't get time with them, but like, who's the like
Uh, yeah. So well, Clint Smith. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I do want to do that one.
that would be fun.
Yeah. Travis Haley is one.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'd be cool.
Chris Costa.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
cool. I think I think Chris Costa will be really fun.
no,
Did you see all of the videos? Tactical response recently.
loved them. They're so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude, and he like I sometimes will reference movies a lot. He does it like more than anyone I've ever witnessed. Like he must like if there's a spare moment, he's probably watching something. He can hit references that I'm like I don't think anyone else would get that, but I get it. Don Edwards,
Yeah, that would be really
Night
cool.
Fighter. Yeah, he's there's not enough interviews of him.
I would love to talk
and
to that dude.
yeah, I have a good one. But yeah, you could do them with him. Um, yeah, because I his story is something that hasn't I don't feel his story has been told as much as far as his journey into the military and then starting his business and like the why behind it and everything. Like if I'm thinking of it, I'm like next time I see him, I'd like to do that. But yeah, do that.
That's cool.
Don Edwards is a great
That'd
dude.
be cool.
There's also another guy who works with him, John Dufresne.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mocha Bear. That would be a good one. Connect Consulting. I've been wanting to train with him, but yeah, Like all those instructors, you know,
That'd be
all
cool.
the any instructor really.
Only instructors though. There's not any kind of like business owners or people that you.
Um.
Speaking of instructors, I think I'd like to do Pat Mack. He's a Christian. I think that would be a cool
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah. Pat Mac would be fun. Like
Yeah, I think it would be super funny.
yeah.
It would be super funny. I'd like to do Craig Douglas of ECQC, but
Oh, yeah.
I want to take that class. So like, that would be like, I'm scared to, but I want to.
Yeah. Same here.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still listening to you. The yeah, there's so many. There's I tried to get Tim Morris to like. He's like, oh, you don't want to, you know,
No,
just like,
Tim would be
it would
great.
it would be a great interview.
Yeah.
And he's really had like so many. It doesn't need to be the face of whatever school you're talking about. There's so many of these
Great
instructors
there,
that are not just there, but across like lots of schools have lots of instructors that are not the face of the organization,
Mhm.
but they're super great instructors and really important for the culture. And I would love to talk to a lot of those guys.
Yeah,
too.
and like so, a lot of the tactical response guys have been on camera. Jerry has not been on camera as much. He's starting to.
I would love
more.
to. Jerry's a trip. Man.
Oh yeah. Like I didn't even know he existed when I went there, and then I met him. I was like, is he new or something?
I didn't know him
Yeah.
until I took immediate action medical, and he and Kayla taught that together.
Yep.
Great instructors.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Great instructors.
I think on the family side too, both Kayla and Heather would be excellent.
Man, they're probably getting hit up all the time, but I would love to. I'd love to talk to them about. And they're kind of doing. They're kind of the weird thing about. I don't know if you saw their series recently, Growing Up Jaeger.
Like, yeah.
But they're kind of answering the questions that I would be asking. So I'm kind of like, they're kind of doing it. So I'm like, okay, it's getting done. Like, but if they're like, we want to do it again, like I'll be glad to ask you tons of questions. I'm super curious about that whole thing. So
right on. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Again, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
And
thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You've been a blessing to our home.
Well, thank you. One thing I'm looking forward to is I'm going to do a proper baptism with Brian.
Yeah, cool deal.
And we'll put that on Facebook and stuff. We'll announce it. But like, I'm really looking forward to it. You've been so helpful to me, and your family's been so good to myself and my family. So like, I seriously appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you too. We're friends now.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think we were when we met, but you know,
it was pretty quick. Yeah,
it was pretty quick. But like, I mean it. Like, if you need something, call me.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. And same to you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. That means the world to me.
Oh, it means the world to me, man. Like, yeah, because like you were, I remember watching and learning about you, and I was like, man, why don't I have a Christian leader like you around me?
You probably do. I mean, there like don't get this wrong. There are people that have tons of recognition in the Christian community, and there are tons of people in obscurity that are doing the work. And sometimes those two things, recognition and the work, go together, and that's cool. I personally prefer it the other way. Like, there have been some opportunities that like I never want to miss an opportunity and miss a platform or whatever. That's cool. I do it, but if I can, like, I don't want to be a celebrity when it comes to Christianity. Like, I kind of want to keep it chill.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying that I have any danger of getting there, but like, it's that, like, there's probably some good dudes doing the work and some good women doing the work around you. If you want help connecting with them, but just like there's a network in the training community, there's kind of a network in the Christian community of the people that are like about the, like, they're legit. And there are, just like there are in our training community, there are also the opposite. So, you know, buyer beware.
Yeah, well, you're very vetted in my book, and
thanks, man.
You're my go-to guy.
Thanks, man.
100%. So, again, guys, check out Ammo Mountain. The video that we did together will be in the description. Check out our other video that we did 2 videos for Free Will Awakening. Those will be in the description as well. Make sure you are subscribed to Brian's channel. All right. everyone who is subscribed on my channel needs to be subscribed on his channel, and that's the way it is. Go do that now.
If you're watching this from, I don't know, if you're on Ammo Mountain and you're a subscriber there, but you're not a subscriber here, I don't know exactly how that would work, but go subscribe to Combat Art Training
Thank you, sir.
and Free Will Awakening whenever it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. Now,
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and close it out?
Okay. Don't waste your life. Don't do it. You have purpose for more than just, what did you say? A sedate life? Oh, man. Your purpose for more than sleep. Wake up.
All right, guys. Keep fighting communism. Remember that training saves lives.
Oh, that's bad, Mo.